Hello, and welcome to the Consider Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Eric King, and along with my co host, Mino Pachan, we're here to talk about all things mental health. Let's get into it.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Consider Your Mind podcast, episode number 17.
Already.
We're getting up there, folks.
we trying.
Yeah. Last week, we pretty much had an episode talking about PTSD. If you guys missed that, go ahead and feel free to check that out. We pretty much just share some articles that we came across and some of our experiences with that. And definitely tune in and check that out. This week, we're talking about some eating disorders. I know Eric got some information to share with us, so go ahead and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said in the last episode, we want to cover, a variety of things and, that people are going through, not just things that we personally have issues with or diagnosed or experienced with, but things that we know others, are going through out there as well. And so eating disorders kind of came to my mind, similar to what I said in the previous episode. I'm a connoisseur. Previous episodes, I'm a connoisseur of bad reality television because there's very little good reality television. But I watch a lot of reality shows, and one of my favorite ones is 90 Day Fiance. People know about those
Oh,
marriage
no.
shows.
No.
Yep, I know, one of my favorites,
Oh,
exactly.
man.
But I noticed right after those shows, right around those shows, there's also my 600-pound life. My 1,000-pound sisters.
That
Stuff
show,
like that.
that show is pretty eye opening, man. It's
Which one?
my 600-pound life.
See, there you go. Everybody knows about it. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's a big
I don't
deal.
watch it, but I've seen like clips and I heard
Intended.
stories about it, and it's crazy, man. Like,
Mhm.
man,
Yeah, the stories. And so that's what kind of brought it to my mind. I was like, okay, the things that we're seeing every day. We spoke about addiction and things like that before, and there's shows like Intervention. Even celebrity things, of course, Celebrity Rehab. But along with those two, ever since now the OG, The Biggest Loser. Ever since that, once that became a hit, it's kind of made, eating disorders and specifically obesity, binge eating, that disorder is big business, now, and it's entertainment. And so I wanted to just kind of speak on that and get really into the technical side of, eating disorders, various ones, but then kind of wrap it up with a look at how are we really, treating, these conditions that people are having and these disorders. And is it really being treated with the seriousness that it deserves? Or has it really become just a form of entertainment for us? Like, the Maury show is about to come off, about to leave the air finally. We watch You
oh
Are
wow,
Not the
really?
Father.
I did not know that.
Yep, Maury show is finally ending. Exactly, Maury Povich.
Baby Daddy show.
Yeah, the Baby Daddy show. Exactly.
Oh man,
You know,
can't get rid
it's
of
like
that, man.
we've been
That's a
watching
classic.
stuff like that, real issues and problems, and people having dysfunctions and disorders that they're having in their lives for public display. And we're using it like, oh, well, hey, at least, I know I had a crappy day at work or whatever, but at least my 13-year-old daughter's not trying to get pregnant. you know,
Dang,
it's like,
that's some real stuff though.
hmm exactly. So just wanted to take a look at that today. Again, eating disorders and specifically, binge eating. But there's quite a few different ones. I looked up on, online, Mayo Clinic, CDC, places like that. The main ones are anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, binge eating disorder, and then avoidance or restrictive food intake disorder, or AFID. So that's kind of like a newer one. So we kind of, when we were younger, you remember health class, they used to teach us about, anorexia and bulimia and stuff. And, that was a big deal. They
Yeah.
make movies on it, specifically so young girls knew, it was okay, love your body and, accept that. You didn't have to be a ballerina or this super skinny model girl. And so I remember that being a big push, in health class, much like cigarettes, don't smoke, dare, all those other things. Bulimia and anorexia were ones that they talked about a lot. And, and it was mainly for the ladies because there are guys that, experience it too. We'll touch on that.
I think those are the two main ones that we hear
Exactly.
a lot of.
Especially
Is
particularly when we were
bulimia and
raised.
anorexia.
Yeah,
hmm
exactly. And for good reason. But as I've started to, kind of look into it and, look into the research of this thing, that's actually, only 6% of the people diagnosed with an eating disorder are underweight. So in terms of all the people
Oh
that,
wow.
eating disorders, binge eating, all
They
this
tend
stuff.
to overeat.
Actually, those ones that are underweight, particularly, again, diagnosed or whatever, that's only 6%. The vast majority of people, you know, don't have that eating disorder. But that's the one that
Right.
got talked about the most. That's the one when you look up on YouTube eating disorders. That's the one with the touching stories and the you look at it and it's not promoted. You know what I'm saying? There's no skinny
Hmm.
acceptance movement or anorexia and everybody's saying this is good or anything like that. And so I think what's been given the majority of the weight issues that are out there involve people overeating, binge eating, things like that. The obesity epidemic, obesity crisis. And so what kind of made me want to do this episode, I'm like, man, we really are using one for entertainment when it's the other extreme. We know it's not funny. This person
Yep.
got one foot in the grave. They're 80 pounds or whatever, waif thin, and they look sickly. And we won't sit there on television and just watch that person walk around and live their life or whatever. We think that's wrong.
No.
But actually, but on the other extreme, it's cool. This is entertainment. This person's 600 pounds, 800 pounds, 1,000 pounds, and we sit there and have a whole show and watch them eat. Literally, it's a
Yeah.
whole different. It's a whole different protocol, man.
It's
you
wild,
know,
man.
when I started to really look at it, I'm like, man, these things are all on the list together. But when I look at how things are covered, how things are, talked about, looking up articles, look up whatever the concern is, people aren't really concerned about these people's lives like that. you know,
No, it's just
it's
purely
pure
entertainment.
entertainment.
You know.
It's absolutely pure entertainment, man. So, there's, we kind of know what that anorexia nervosa, restricting, not eating food, making your body, weight low. Bulimia, that's kind of the binging and purging, eating a bunch and then, regurgitating it. Binge eating, obviously overeating excessively, even when you're not hungry, just eating to excess, leading to obesity and things like that. Rumination disorder, that's a little more uncommon. So that's when people like, eat, then all of a sudden like they'll like binge it up, but then eat it again, like re-eat it. Exactly. They'll bring it up, it's not nauseating, whatever, but they'll regurgitate food and then re-swallow. You know. So and then AFib, avoidance food um, avoidance slash restrictive food intake disorder. That's when people like have almost like a phobia of certain foods, certain textures. Instead of just being a picky eater, you know, or trying to avoid the food or whatever so they don't gain weight. It's not about that. It's like it's a sensory thing. There's certain sensory, taste, textures, things are a fear that they'll choke on the food. So it's, instead of it kind of being a control thing where hey, I'm going to control this, it's literally something that is, gives them a lot of anxiety, you know, the act of eating. So those are the ones, again, kind of the five that are, listed, of the disorders. And it could happen to men, women, nothing, there's no, um, age, sorry, gender difference in terms of that. Um, it can happen to anybody, but what really made me want to do this, I'm like, why is the one, this is entertainment. The other one's like, we know this kind of weird, but there's one in terms of binge eating and, abusing food in that way or being addicted to food. There's literally a, show called like that, addicted, addicted to food. That's entertainment. What's up with that? You know,
Because it's making them
man,
money.
it's big business, literally, pun intended, man.
If it makes money, there's no there's no line it won't
Mm,
cross.
yeah. No, it's true because these people putting these shows on. Again, we mentioned it. What started off Biggest Loser, and again, that premise of that show comes from a good place. So I don't want to be downing,
It
you know,
does.
it completely. It comes from a good place. People wanting to lose weight, but look at what it's turned into. It's now. It's not even just about losing weight. It's, it's actually about really loving the person that you are, or putting the crisis element to it. I'm on the clock. I'm gonna die in this amount of time. If he doesn't lose this weight, you know, we're entertained by this man literally be on the edge of death. You can, have a heart attack any day.
Yeah. But that's us as a
Hmm.
whole. We like that kind of entertainment. It's something to see, to live vicariously through the screen. You know.
Escapism.
Yep, that is
Yeah.
true.
Escaping into other people's problems. At least I'm not them. You know.
Yeah. That brings me to pretty much this article that I came across here as well, since we're talking about eating disorders. And first time for me just really looking up eating disorders, there's a lot out there. Like,
Hmm.
there's so many things to read up on to figure it out because I just want to learn myself and get a better understanding of it, you know. And finding out that finding people like going through this is it's it's crazy. It's really all in the head.
Hmm.
You think about it, the main issue. And
Hmm.
so I came across this article. Uh, you could check it out. The article's on NBC News. It's about this girl named Erin Reynolds. She's been pretty much battling with bulimia since childhood, and she's from
Hmm.
Montana. It's crazy. I don't know anything about Montana, but it's a pretty big state.
Big
And
state. That's all I know.
so here's the thing that caught my attention about this story. She lives in Montana. And she had to go all the way to the East Coast to find therapy and help because there's no
Hmm.
one available. Yeah, there's no one
Access.
available in Montana that was going to be able to treat her, or let alone have like an outpatient program. They don't have that. So I
Hmm.
got me thinking. Like, so I'm reading this article, and it's pretty much it makes it hard for people to get the help that's needed for people that live in rural areas or less populated areas, right? So you got to think
Yeah.
about the accessibility that they have, or even opportunities to get the kind of help they need. It's it's the closest from her around her area was like a couple hours drive just to see a
Yeah.
therapist.
You're gonna hit a lot more McDonald's on the way
Hmm.
there. And, that's the problem.
And I guess things just got worse during the pandemic as well. So in this article, she pretty much left
Hmm.
everything that she had, everything that she knew at the age of 22 to get treatment. Okay. And at this time during the pandemic, ER visits of teenage girls dealing with eating disorders doubled during the pandemic. So yeah, and
Wow.
that's crazy to think just during the pandemic. But you gotta think the whole situation, stress.
Isolate. Yeah, in the house more
Yep,
exactly
people
more.
are
Yeah,
stress, eat.
isolated from people, fear,
Yep, all
anxiety.
that. And the people
Yeah.
that like eat a lot when they're stressed, I'm pretty sure this was a very stressful time for most. And it's just
Stress eating.
all of that.
Absolutely.
So, and the treatment option, like I said, is it's like almost non-existent. Okay, so just to give you an idea here, let's see. So the whole state in Colorado, pretty much a little bit smaller than Montana. In the whole state,
Hmm.
there's only 9 licensed providers.
For like eating disorder help. Colorado's a big state too.
You know what I mean? So you gotta think, and then just talking about like having to like uproot her life just to go someplace where she can get help that she needs. Like having to move your whole life, out of state, place that you grew up, and everything like that, just to get the help that you needed when it should be made somewhat available, at least by
Hmm.
you.
And again, when you have the courage to even go ahead and do that, to take that step, to know you have this issue, which is to be committed to go ahead, and help yourself, go reach for the help and ask for the help. For it to be made so inaccessible, it kind of reminds me of last week when you talked about the people working in the medical, field not being able to get the right, medical care, you know, for their traumas and stuff. I was like, whoa.
And then just reading the article, pretty much is just stating that there wasn't really much resources for people that do not live in the big cities or in a more populated area. So for these people to get help, it's really hard for them to get that.
Hmm.
You know, it's not like they could just go down, drive 10 minutes somewhere, and then there'll be a place that they could get resources
Yeah,
that they need. No,
exactly.
they have to go across
Yeah,
states.
exactly. And especially when there's an element of shame to it already. People with eating disorders don't want to have the disorder. That's not something they're, happy with. You know, This woman's battling bulimia. She's trying to, fix it, and doesn't first of all want to tell anybody. It's probably, there's a sense of shame that comes with it. And then on top of that, you got to move heaven and earth, travel, across seas, traverse high mountains. When you got enough you're going through already just to, get through the day where you are.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that people like her, they have to leave their states just to go get
Mhm.
treatment. And which means that's a lot of people left untreated because they can't afford to make that
hmm
travel.
No, absolutely. And us
So
being from Minnesota, we're blessed in that way because you got the Mayo Clinic. The information I'm pulling up. Leading clinic in the world. If they literally have anything and everything. Now, I'm not saying you can always
yeah,
get
the
in.
Mayo's the
Yeah,
best place
but it
as
is
far
the
as
number one. You know, and a lot of these reality shows, people end up going to the Mayo Clinic.
everyone has gone to
Yeah,
the Mayo Clinic.
that's exactly, man. So
Good old
yep,
Rochester.
Rochester. Yep. I remember visiting you down there. But that's a sidebar.
Mm.
Sidebar. But no, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to again people like her that are really making the effort because, again, I'm getting into it more with the reality shows too. You see, again, these people having to go to these specialists. That's one thing we do kind of get a peek into is a lot of folks that are struggling. Again, with the weight and things like that. Overeating. A lot of rural areas. A lot of places in the South. A lot of people very like a lot of rich food history and things like that, but they don't have not known for access to the greatest medical, care and facilities and resources. These seem to be some of the poorer states. So it kind of breeds that. I think I was reading somewhere it's only one. Um, Speaking of Colorado, I think they're the only like state that doesn't. Yeah, yeah. Something I read. According to the Center for Disease Control, obesity, defined as a body mass index of over greater than 30, has dramatically increased over the past 20 years. In 2008, only one state, Colorado, reported obesity in less than 20% of its population. In 6 states, more than 30% had a prevalence of obesity. So, Colorado, the only state, I guess, man, it's all that skiing, pretty fit place. They're the only place that had.
I'm pretty sure it's something
Yeah,
else,
yeah,
but
yeah.
go
Exactly.
Colorado.
But literally, that's sad. The only one state in all the states of the union have a population where less than 1/5 of the population is you know actually obese. The rest of it, again, six or more had a population greater than 30. So we're not talking about just overweight either. We're talking about obesity. You know, so you got to go through all the and so so that's why I'm like, man, it's like people capitalizing over an epidemic for real. Now that I think about it, like because again, the pandemic has made things worse too. I remember door dashing. A lot of places you DoorDash to, you give them McDonald's and these places to pretty people that are not looking so great, that have a difficult time coming to the door. You know, and when you see it in real life, it's like, dang, where is the help kind of coming from? The only help disguises help is if there's a TV camera behind it. Then all of a sudden you can be seen. Then all of a sudden it can matter, man. And so that's what tripped me out, man. I had to actually when I was creating a little list just for the show. This is my rundown of all like the reality shows. I just did quickly. Just found a couple. Again, this is global too. My 600-pound life, mixed weight, obesity med, more to love, the biggest loser, obese and pregnant, the 650-pound version, biggest life, obesity in America, honey, we're killing the kids, inside Brookhaven obesity clinic, big medicine, one big happy family, the big ward. Like that was quick. You know what I'm saying? Like those are just shows actively going on. Yeah, man. So like I didn't have to mine deeply to find these shows. Like it's readily available, active right now. What people are, literally viewing what studios are producing. Netflix, they're taking notes. And at the end, like,
You listed all that out the top of your
no,
head.
I wasn't. No, I wrote it down. I did write it down. Okay, so no, I did not. But it didn't take long, bro.
How do you
That's.
even think? How do you even think of? I don't even like recognize like two of those
hmm
shows.
But trust me, they're going on right now. And again, and it's a worldwide thing. Some of these shows are in the UK, some are in New Zealand. Um, A lot of them again do air in America. I mentioned again at the beginning of the show my 1,000-pound sisters, 1,000-pound best friends. They're
What?
all. I'm telling you, like they're active right now. All these extra streaming services, they got new special shows just for those access to it.
Hold on. I see 600-pound
Hmm.
life and then the 650-pound
Yep,
virgin.
it's real, man. The 600 right after obese and pregnant, the 650-pound version. So again, instead of again like being biggest loser, okay, I'm trying to lose weight. This is a problem. This is an issue. I'm seeking help. Hey, we'll help you get this help you need. Now it's getting to a point where it's like normalizing it, and representation matters. Okay, I want to say that as minorities, again, representation matters. You do want to see yourself on TV. You do want to see yourselves in positions, to be admired and everything like that. But I think that's a whole different spirit than what's like literally, man. This is exploitation at this point. This is, you know, big business, all pun intended. And when you get behind these shows too, again, the stores that supply, clothes to bigger people and stuff like that. They're the ones that make money off this stuff, at sponsoring these things. There's industries, um, that really, during while we're watching these shows, what are we getting promoted during the commercial? Keto diets and stuff.
It's all for the
I'm trying to tell
money.
you, man, it really is. you know. And when when the thing that you even listen to these shows and you actually listen to what these people are saying, this stuff comes from trauma a lot of times. Just like we dealt with PTSD in the last episode, binge eating or restrictive eating or things like that. Those are your eating disorders can come from it's a maladaptive pattern of easing your anxiety. You're uncomfortable, you're afraid, you're whatever it is, and you know that you're using food as a way to soothe that or get you by. You know, so it's that trauma again. Something happens to you, that lack of control. You feel like I've heard especially on these shows sometimes like intervention even. A show I mentioned is usually about drugs, but there's people been on there about anorexia, bulimia, as well, binging and purging, and it was really about control had been taken from them at some point in their life. Some abuse had happened, and now you know what? This is a way they can control their body. I can control how much I eat or if I don't eat, or you know, that's they're looking for something else. It's really not about the food. At the end of the day, what they're looking for isn't the taste of food in their mouth necessarily. They're looking to feel safe, to feel secure. They're looking for a sense of belonging. So you'll hear people talking about food was always there for me. Food was my friend. Good times, bad times.
It was
Hmm?
comforting. Food was
There you go.
comforting.
That's their confidence. That's the consistent in their life. And you know, and I think so. Again, this show is about mental health, and that's where it all starts. It does, start in the mind. Now it manifests in the body. We all, we had a show on escapism. We all doing something to get by. It's just that I believe this in particular, when we're looking at it in terms of what our society and what it can really tell us about ourselves, is very telling. Who we're willing to let die for our entertainment. Like people who are literally dying. We wouldn't be seeing these people if they were living normal, healthy, productive, happy lives. The only way they'd ever even get on camera, if we want to see them, period, interact, is because they're on television. Is because there's a narrative, there's a story, there's a sad story, around it, and sad music in the background, and
Get that inspiration.
and again, and a piece of it, can be inspirational. I think after that, maybe some people that is gym fuel for them, but I think for a whole lot more people, it's like, well, at least I ain't as bad as them. I know I'm big, but man, they real big, and stuff like. Or, look at what this doctor said. He's so funny. Look, man, he's cursing this guy out about his weight. Da, da, da. It's funny.
And it is. That's a thing. It's like, does it make me a bad
You know what
person?
I'm saying? Really, because they make these like they're making shows and
You
entertainment to
know?
set it up, so we're used to laughing at them.
And it's okay to, like to you, you might have a different sense of humor than I. You might find something funny and I
Hmm.
don't. And that's just the way it is. So
Hmm. No, it's true, but
It's
we got to keep it real though, man. The stats are what they are, man. Like, what it says, 26% of people with eating disorders attempt suicide. These people, like, they're suffering. This isn't fun and games. you know, like when you're looking at this person, literally, this person is massive, okay, or bedridden, and you're watching them eat a whole pizza, or like everybody just sitting around watching, like everything is fine. You know, it's like, damn, man, like. And what's messed up too is we wouldn't be paying attention. This is a lot of times, sometimes the issue. They haven't gotten the attention, the love, the sense of belonging for people to really care about them until they have this issue. Now all of a sudden everybody cares. That person probably really could have used a friend all along. you know,
and that goes along for
I'm telling
anything
you,
in
yeah, this
life.
is
I mean,
bigger
think
than.
about it. People don't really give you your flowers until you're gone.
Mm,
You don't start bumping Michael Jackson music out of nowhere until he
Nipsey Hussle,
died.
yeah, people don't give you roses while you
You
can
know,
smell them. Yeah.
and I'm guilty of that too. I didn't listen to too much Nipsey Hussle, but when he passed, I was like, oh,
Mhm.
he was a bigger deal than I thought. Let me look at his music and
Mhm.
get a better understanding of who he was, because I didn't really know who he was. I know of
Mhm.
him, but I didn't really listen to
Yeah,
his
yeah.
music or anything like that. And that's is the only reason why I heard of him,
Mhm.
like all up there, because he passed away, and it makes me mad because I wish I would have found out while he was still around, because then I could have things to look forward to with him.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like your favorite musicians, it's like, oh, I can't wait until the next album or the next song, whatever it may be. And it's like, unfortunately, that's how it is too. And then you start people with the fake love, R.I.P. my
Mhm.
friend, la da da.
Yeah, man. Why
I
ain't they
don't
call,
know
man? Could
you.
have supported him the whole time. Like, man, people would be screaming out
Yeah,
and crying for help, man.
yeah. Like the Michael Beasley part went
Mhm.
on the pivot. I've been asking for help this whole time.
Mhm. And that's kind of, I swear, man, that's kind of, I'm starting to look at a lot of different things. And so eating disorders, as well, because again, and rightfully so, when you see somebody and they're starving themselves to death, you know, or you're seeing, somebody, been binging and purging so much they're, it's got blood in it and stuff now. Like you see somebody wasting away, and we take.
And this is like a simple thing as eating
Mm-hmm.
food. Like if you don't go, you go for hours without eating that. Just even if you snacked on a grape, just think of how like mood changing and uplifting
Mm-hmm.
that is. Just to bite into a grape. When you're hungry, like any
Mm-hmm.
food, like these people, it's like I don't even know how to
But
explain it.
but here's the thing, because
They
when
can't.
you when you misunderstand the purpose of something, abuse is inevitable. So again, food is for nutrition, but if you're using it as a comfort, you know, like if you're using it as a way, again, control or something like that, you're perverting the use of the purpose of it, and so now,
Right, like that's what I'm
yeah,
saying. Like they're not getting to enjoy
yeah,
something
yeah,
simple
exactly.
like that because they're
This is an
dealing with it.
enjoyment, because there's that
And it's like
guilt
they get to,
afterwards. That's that whole binging.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like they can't enjoy something simple as eating a fresh grape or
Hmm.
something, or biting into something, to enjoy that, because their mind would make them feel like
Hmm.
they can't have it, or they're gonna puke it back up. Not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it
it
sucks
comes from
that
an
they go through it.
unhealthy view of food that I think we generally have as society. Like I said, during these commercials of these reality shows about people with eating disorders, they'll be showing us commercials how great this diet is, how great that diet is. They lost weight doing such and such. Avoid this, avoid that. Atkins, all this stuff. We know the names of all these diets because you know. But what it's done is it's perverted food for us into good and bad categories. Good foods and bad foods. Eat this, avoid this. And the more restrictive, you talk about food, the more it leads to overeating. It's like the more rules you make, the more rules people break because there's more to break.
Or something as simple as eating becomes more like a chore,
Hmm.
because you have to feel like you can't have this,
Yeah,
have that,
can't have
only
this.
eat
Oh, I'm
this
on
at
this
this
diet, so I
time.
can't have this, but I can have some of that. And did it.
And when in all reality, all it is just in moderation.
Hmm.
You can have whatever you want in moderation. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, but unfortunately, the mind is a very powerful thing,
Absolutely.
and it make you believe certain
Yeah,
things.
absolutely. And unfortunately, the medical system, as you said, a lot of times the resources availability, it isn't. It's failing a lot of people. and particularly like people of color as they call us, like ourselves, they're significantly less likely than white people to be asked by a doctor about eating disorder symptoms. Because just like a whole bunch of things, just like a lot of other stuff, this is bulimia, anorexia, it's white girls. That's the face of that stuff. And I wonder, is that why we take it more seriously? Because we don't like to see poor Anna starving to death and wasting away. But it's cool if we see, Consuela or whatever blowing up like a house and bedridden. Why is the faces are different, of that in the way we treat it, and so it's something that we got to look at the way we as society, we as people, look at food in terms of how we classify it and the purpose and function of it, and then the way that we look at people who do have this, because again, the misconception is too is that big people with eating disorders, particularly like binge eating, they're lazy, fat, lazy, slob, all this other stuff, all these negative connotations, you know, that just leads to more stigma, that leads to more shame, more hiding, more inward, self-medicating, maladaptive behavior, binge eating. It just, it's like it's this vicious cycle that if you listen to these people, man, honestly, if you listen to these shows, they will tell you this is a cry for help, man. This is not a great time to actually cue this music that's all, warm and loving and all that stuff. This woman's telling you that she got abused, sexually, and then thought, started blowing up like a house so she wouldn't be attractive to any other man, and then boom, it happens to her again, Bruh. When I actually sit back and listen to what people have said on these shows that I have watched like just everybody else mindlessly.
Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
reality
I'm
shows.
telling you,
Man,
now that I'm
I'm
starting to
telling
think,
you.
I'm guilty. Oh man, what am I doing? What have I been supporting this
I
whole
can't even do
time?
it. I think the last reality show that I like enjoyed was the Jersey Shore.
Oh wow, yeah,
Oh yeah,
the
I'm
meatballs and
not, I'm not gonna lie.
grenades, man.
It was at that time in my life. It was GTO.
Mm.
Minus the T. I didn't need to tan. I already tan. So
You do tan well.
gym and laundry, man.
Mm-hmm.
Gym, work, laundry. That was my
Mm-hmm.
routine. And that show came out at a time that was just that's what it was about. Life, party,
Mm-hmm.
money.
That looked like the place to be, man. I
So
wanted to kick it with some Italians and you know fist pump and
yeah.
stuff like that. And
Man,
but
yeah,
but think
that's
about
the
that. That's the
move, man.
exact opposite of this reality. On there, the dudes had like 8 packs. It was a situation and stuff.
The
The dude literally.
what a name. Yo, like these guys were
Yes, they were
hilarious,
hilarious. They
man.
were
If you think
shredded.
of it,
These
it's like low
beautiful
key, it was
people.
hilarious.
You know. So it's like these
Man.
extremes too. That's the thing about, again, speaking of reality shows, like bro, it's this world of extremes. You got Jersey Shore, these extremely tan, good-looking young people, 8 packs or whatever, even showing themselves in the gym, and then contrast that. You flip the channel over, and now you have people that are morbidly obese. You know, can't even work out, can't move or whatever. It's just like you get lost into either world. Like, where is it actually in the middle? Because the truth is, and again, reality shows know this, always making us want something, always making us consumers. You know, the reality show girls on, Jersey Shore, and you remember Real World. That was my first, there you go. I would have done anything to be on the Real World when I was a kid. Thank God I never tried that. But again, on those, they're in Vegas and all this stuff. Those reality shows, The Bachelorette, those girls are a size 2. America's Next Top Model, girls size 2. When their audience, who are the girls watching this, consuming this stuff, they're size 14. That's just real. That's like on some average size type stuff if you look it up.
What's your top 3 shows right
My
now?
top 3 shows.
Like you watch till this day
Oh man, to this
religiously?
day. All right, gotta leave the realm of reality because like this is nostalgia for me because my grandmother used to.
The what?
Gotta go into nostalgia right now. So getting out of the realm of reality shows, and I'm going into my nostalgia bag. And I used to
Okay.
love my grandmother, my nana. She used to watch Star Trek, Next Generation, with Picard, Worf, all these, So that comes on. That's like on a loop on the channel here. So I watch that still, like all the time. I go to bed to that. So my grandmother used to always watch it,
Star Trek.
and so I watch that still to this day. Probably my all-time favorite show that I was obsessed with was That 70s Show.
Oh, you one of them.
That's absolutely. So to me, that's like history that like live in like Wisconsin too. And so I'm like, man, that's what it was like in the 70s. Like my dad was born in 1960, so I'm like, dang, this would have been him and his generation. They walking around in cool cars, bell bottoms in the suburbs. You know, didn't look racist or nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's TV. So for me, I'm like, wow, man, I can have afro. Da, da, da. Like,
You know, I never really got into the '70s show.
I love that show, man. Fez. Hello, Jackie. I love you.
That's the Spanish dude,
Yes,
right?
Fez, man. Wilder Valderrama. Yes, I don't have a lot going on right
Jeez,
now.
what a name!
So yeah, watched all that stuff, man. And then probably
I might have to check that out. I might have to binge
yeah,
that.
definitely, man. And then let's see if my number one show ever. Um, that's gonna be rough, but I would probably say Recess. When I was a kid, that was a show that I
Wow.
would run like to see all the time.
Well, Recess got on Rocket Power.
And I just thought of Rocket Power as like that.
Hmm?
It popped in my head too, man, because I would really love to watch those. Like Nickelodeon, they had it on lock back then. As far as my show,
I used to watch the Are You Afraid of the Dark?
oh yeah,
Nickelodeon, Nick at Night.
exactly.
Oh,
You see
man.
how our television was so much more humble, wholesome before we got on this reality stuff. You know, we watching cartoons, we watching non-racist history shows.
Yo, you remember Wishbone?
Wishbone, yes. Speaking of non-racist history shows, there you go. Could transport us to any time, and damn it, everybody was welcome, even the dog.
I wanted that
Yeah,
dog.
yeah, man. Ghost Rider and
But
all
let's
of that.
see,
So,
my
yeah, man, it was just
my top three. I'm going way back to when shows were like they meant something.
meant something.
You know, with lessons. All right, the original Full House.
Oh wow, okay, Full House.
Uncle Jesse.
I was yeah.
Shout
Used
out.
to watch them.
DJ. Hello, how you doing,
Them and
DJ?
Family Matters. Yep.
Whole family matter. No, my other one was the Jamie Foxx show.
Oh, see, you know what? You ain't lying. That was wow. I didn't even think of that one. That
with his partner in crime, Braxton.
Braxton P. Hartnebrig.
Yo, that was my perfect escapism back
That's
in the
right.
day. That was it. It was on routine. It was Jamie Foxx show, the Martin show, and then it goes right into Wayne's Brothers.
That block right there. That's when the black shows was on, bro.
That was the best.
And you know what? Never mind. I scratched
Oh,
that.
man.
Scratched that. Then I'm going. If we're doing that, then my favorite show was In Living Color. There we go. That's probably. I remember, that,
Oh,
okay.
that was so.
My bad.
Oh
Sorry,
man.
Rocket Pie. Yeah, y'all got to go. Everything else, In Living Color.
Oh man. But see, like I'm saying, like these shows back then, they had.
They don't make them like they used to. Now
like
look at us
these-
sounding
no.
old.
I know, man.
But no, that's where we at, man. And so I just wanted to bring this to the table. Didn't want to make it too heavy of a subject, but as I started to think of it deep more and more, it's just like, you know, what are we really consuming? What are we watching? And what is that really telling us about, you know, what is that saying about us as a society and what we value and how we view people who are struggling with, you know, their mental health?
That's wild. Like even like just eating disorders, like in general, is I really feel for those that go through it, man. Like definitely, you guys are not alone. Reach out and get the help
Yeah,
that you
absolutely.
need, please. It's, even though a lot of the media likes to make fun
Mhm.
of eating disorders because it's not serious. Well, it is serious to the people that are
Exactly.
going through it. So, be mindful.
Yeah,
Be
absolutely.
respectful.
And work with the professionals, man. Shout out to therapists that I've looked at who do this thing and treat people with eating disorders. It's a combination, of the therapy, the therapist, working with an actual doctor, and work with a dietitian. To get people really the help that they need so they can live a healthy life for real. It's not just about losing some weight for a contest or a game show or being a reality star, man. We're talking about actual people out here who are really looking for some help. We hope that if you guys know anybody yourselves is concerned about that, or know anybody who needs to be looking at that, to talk to them very seriously, because this world isn't going to help them, man. Carbohydrates are very addictive. Carbs and all this sugar, that stuff is like a drug, man. In this world, to keep you addictive. Yeah,
In
man.
moderation.
For real, man. Get your people some help, man.
Moderation.
Get your people some help, bro. So, yeah, man, that's all I had.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I got. That's all I got as well. I mean, next week we'll be talking about addiction,
The support that people
and
need.
we may have a special guest. We'll keep you guys posted on that. Yeah, that's all I got. Anything else?
Oh man, thank you all for tuning in again. Again, another episode of the Consider Your Mind podcast. And again, if you know anybody who needs, who is struggling with an eating disorder, please use the resources down below in the description box. The resources we'll have to really get some people the help that they need, man. So, with that, thanks again, and we will see you next week.